One thing that many of you have asked me to make a video on is Power Rangers joining the Transformers slash G.I. Joe verse that Hasbro is clearly building. So let's talk about it. Should the Power Rangers be a part of this giant mega universe that could realistically be very successful if done right? So I think it's safe to say, and I think most of you will agree with me, the reason that the MCU succeeded out the gate is because they showed you all these smaller characters that by themselves were not giant, big box office breakthrough hits. Outside of Iron Man, Hulk failed, Captain America failed, and Thor failed literally out the gate. They were not profitable films. But by sticking through them and telling people that it's all important and showing small crossover potential, and being confident that the Avengers was going to be big, they pulled off the ultimate Hail Mary move in Hollywood that nobody believed they could. I, in my heart, believe that Transformers, with the power of G.I. Joe being rebooted within it, and if Hasbro was to do what I'm saying here, and that's bring Power Rangers into the continuity, that they could follow the same exact path as long as they stick to it. So let's hypothetically say Rise of the Beasts, which we know it's going to make a profit with all the toy sales and everything, gets multiple sequels, which I do believe they will because they're not abandoning this. G.I. Joe gets a from the ground reboot, which it's getting, and let's say this is on the cheaper end. 120, 150 million optimistically. Awesome. That's good enough to continue doing it. So off of that, what do you do with Transformers? Well, Transformers is a brand that's all over the place. So how I would do it is, and yeah, I'm, I guess, showing you my hand, I believe Power Rangers should be brought into this continuity. Sorry, Charlie, I know you're going to message me and be angry, but I'm saying what I'm saying. I expect your message soon. Charlie's a longtime fan and a friend of ours, so I expect him to reach out to me saying, no, it's the worst idea ever, because he's a hardcore Power Rangers mark. Look, what I'm saying here is, there is a chance here to bring all three brands up by cross-pollinating. Again, I'm talking about this because it worked for the MCU. And you can still have each one have an individual feel, but at the same time, each one contributes to this bigger threat and universe. So maybe you start with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which I think is obviously the recognizable one. Or maybe you start off and you do something else. What if the Power Rangers continue to exist the way they are, but they do a reboot set in this universe that's a little bit more unique? What if, for example, they were to take an Earth-based team that's not so about, you know, these mystic powers or ninja powers or anything? What if they were to take a realistic, more boots-on-the-ground approach, like, hey, we're going to reboot Transformers and G.I. Joe, and in this universe you have Power Rangers that's also rebooted and separate from everything, but it's more SPD, or it's Lightspeed Rescue. You incorporate that in there to start off. So Lightspeed Rescue, we got a squad that's responding to everything. Maybe they're using some Joe tech, but they don't want to be associated with them. So they make their own morphers. Hey, look at this technology, right? The morpher can essentially give these humans extra powers and abilities. And then off of that, you introduce a bigger lore universe. You introduce, hey, wait a second. This is taking place in the late 90s. Wasn't there something about another team in the early 90s? It's like, yeah, that happened, but, you know, we'll talk about that when we get to it. That's history for if we want to explore it down the road. So you lay down the foundation of some other stuff might have happened, but once again, the age we're in and the technology wasn't running rampant. You can't just have everybody record everything with a cell phone because they didn't literally exist that way. So it opens you up to a little bit more leeway to be able to explain some of these inconsistencies, right? Like, hey, why did we never hear about the Skrulls in Captain Marvel if they were on Earth doing these chases? Well, because Captain Marvel took place in the early 90s and cell phones weren't readily available. So it was just kind of like a throwaway thing. Oh, it's an incident on a bus. Don't worry about it, right? You kind of take that approach here. So I do believe that they should bring Power Rangers into this, at least a rebooted brand for it, because I think it would be more successful. Just give Power Rangers multiple brands. Continue to do what you're doing with the TV series and the Netflix specials and whatever, but reboot as part of this universe, commit to it, and really expand the lore, because I think it could work if you just choose the right Ranger team and you go with that. Like, I don't know, I can't think of a really good way, but how about if you, let's just say, for example, you take the worst Power Ranger series, Turbo, and reboot in that style, where it's like cars and things that they're using, right? There's some appeal there. You can really go with that. Cars sell. Kids love cars, so there you go. And then you introduce the villain of the piece. Let's just go with Divatox again, sure. What if we find out that Divatox isn't so much the same way she was in Power Rangers Turbo? What if she's part of Cobra Law? Tie her into Serpentor, the Enforcer. I mean, you can play around with established lore because it is a reboot. You got to take a new spin on it. I really think that there's something here that they could hit a gold mine with and cross all three over, and everybody benefits from it.